Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Jim and Doug show, but I still have my partner Steve here, who's going to be my partner going forward. So, Steve, say hello to our audience.
Hi, audience. I'm very excited to be part of the show with Jim, and I look forward to many more shows and, our banter back and forth.
And listen, we're going to be changing the name of our show. We'll keep our audience posted, but our producer Doug will still be part of the show, but he's going for his master's degree and so forth. So. Um, Looking forward to having you guys with us here, and Steve, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Jim.
So let's go. This is our Super Bowl show, right? And let me first start off here by saying everybody thought the game was boring and it was this and that, but I thought it was a great game. It was kind of like a hockey game. Every game doesn't have to be 6-6 or 6-5 and so forth. But a low scoring game, my opinion is it was great. I thought it was a good game. Go ahead, Steve.
I did too. I really enjoyed the Super Bowl. I think on the previous show, I took the 56 and over. I touted the dome.
Sorry for your over, guys.
But let's get, we both picked New England. Okay, so that's a good thing.
We did.
Right. But you got to credit the. My first observation is the line play. New England, they just dominated. They really kicked the living crap out of the Rams. More on the defensive side. They neutralized on the offensive side. They absolutely neutralized Donald and Sue to a point. But I'm a proponent of defense, right? What's the what's the standard line? Defense wins championships.
Defense wins championships.
But as we were watching this game, 3-0 first quarter, right? This, that, and the other thing.
And it could have gone either way from there, from that point on. The first play of the game was an interception by the Rams, right?
But to credit both teams, it was defense, defense, defense. The Rams also played great defense. They certainly did. New England at the end. Can you predict it? But
let's talk about this. I mean, we talk about the Patriots and so forth, and they really neutralized, Sue and Donald, who, two ferocious guys on the field, right? And they neutralized them all day long. I mean, they didn't get near Brady. And I thought it was great. I mean, I thought it was a great game plan by Belichick. He knew what he was supposed to do and so forth. And like I said, I mean, you give Brady time to throw the ball, he's going to throw it like he did. And we'll get to that in a minute.
But Brady didn't play well. I'll tell you that right flat out.
I'm not sure why.
He wasn't Tom Brady. He wasn't the GOAT. He was the difference. My first observation, which obviously I said was the line play. My other observation was deer in the headlights with Jared Goff. He really, and I was anticipating a performance better than what he gave. I was anticipating him coming out in the second half after all the bright lights and everything else, so on and so on. But to his credit, he stood in there and he took some shots, man. He took some major league shots.
He took some big shots.
But he just didn't make the throws when they needed to. And here was the other thing. And I'm going to credit this. I just got off the phone with another one of my brothers. And literally 5 minutes ago. And I have to credit that because you'll know on this show, unless we come up with it on our own, we give credit where credit's due. But my brother Tom made an absolutely poignant observation. Brandon Cooks. So when Jared Goff missed him in the end zone, right, in the second quarter, his defense was, it wasn't on Goff, it was on Cooks. That Cooks had it. And again, a shout out to SJR. at St. Joe's Montvale. McCourty came in last second. Jason, in this particular case,
Yes, he did.
however, Cooks dropped the ball. So the point was, and also Cooks also dropped that ball. I'm going to say, what was that, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, where Goff laid it in there down, in the end zone.
Yeah.
But his point was, and I couldn't agree more, was Cooks was on the Patriots roster last year, right? And,
Right, but he
and
wasn't.
it goes to Belichick. It goes to this talent evaluation that a quality receiver like Brandon Cooks is shown the door in New England, shows up in the Rams, and had a great year, don't get me wrong, but it's these small, intangible things. And here on the big stage, in retrospect, and again, I put some on Goff too. He waited longer than he should have to make that throw. But at the end of the day, Cooks dropped 2 big balls. And I just wanted to shout out that.
And
I agree with that observation.
Listen, I'm not dismissing that at all, but we don't want to trash Goff. It was his first Super Bowl, and he's a young kid. He's got a lot to. He's coming back. These guys, he's coming back. But you're right, But that was a great play by McCourty. You can't deny it.
And he wasn't even supposed to be there.
But somebody would say, yeah, he was late on the pass and so forth, and yeah, he probably was. But the defense really took it to him and really shut down an offense that, blew away everybody all season long.
Yeah. 2 guys in particular I'll shout out for the New England, which I thought.
Van Noy.
Van Noy, number 1, but also Dante Hightower was a force, man.
Of course.
He was a force. And it's funny, too, because we were, Jim and I watched the game together, and we, like to think we know our football, but, we were scratching our heads. Like, when you think of New England's defensive line, there's not a Joe Green on that line. There's not a Randy White or Charles Haley, somebody that,
And I can't even name, 3 guys on that defensive line.
But, the nose tackle's a guy, Danny Shelton. He was a first-round draft pick of the Cleveland Browns, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years ago. It's uncanny, I guess is the way I want to say it, how New England takes these scrap heap guys, they come in, and either you follow the script and become a contributor,
or
you show them the door, and you show them the door. And I think the fact that New England's defensive line really kicked the crap out of the Rams. And again, our competition for 30 years, the Fat Man Francesa, who everybody knows. Listen, he always touted for the last year the Giants should have signed this Andrew Whitworth, this, that, and the other thing. Okay? And I get it, right? But Whitworth had a bad game. The whole offensive line on the Rams had a bad game. Jared Goff never really had any time to throw the ball.
I know, but I think it was a matter of it was coaching. And even Sean McVay said, I was out-coached. And you know what? He was. Van Noy and Hightower played incredible. But the whole thing was they put pressure on Goff, and yeah, he was deer in the headlights kind of guy, and but like I said, I've been touting him all year, and I'm a big fan of his, and I'm a big fan of McVay's, and they'll come back. But this was the thing. This was Bill Belichick, Patriots doing his homework, and they came up big.
And there was one other guy we're forgetting, this Stephen Gilmore. This guy played great. He shut down Cooks. He shut him down, right? He really did. And, they lost Chung when he broke his arm.
Hey, he broke his wrist or something. Yeah, right?
But a shout out to Gilmore. Gilmore, shut them down.
But like I said, I want to just throw a shout out to the St. Joe's guys, McCourties. They played great.
No, they both did.
And, not Devin McCourty and Jason. Jason made that play on Cooks in the end zone. Yeah, the ball was late, but he got there. He got there in time.
No, but Jason was all over the field too, and congratulations to him because this is
that's his first.
His first. He gets the ring. Congratulations.
He's
But
two
he played-
behind his brother.
Well, that's okay. That's between them to banter about and break chops.
But we're gonna have one of the McCourtys on our show in a couple of weeks. So
But the thing is, I thought Jason McCourty played a great game. You saw him, you heard his name throughout the telecast.
yeah,
He and you could see the effort that was given by him, especially on that Cooks thing. Right? He wasn't supposed to be there, and he made that extra effort and got there in the
Yes,
nick
he
of
did.
time, and that's big. They
and
don't
look,
score a
we
touchdown.
we could talk about it all day long, but the Rams, the Patriots shut them down. They had 57 yards in the first half, 57 yards in total offense.
Right?
And for everybody that says it was it was a crappy Super Bowl, I said no, it wasn't a crappy Super Bowl. It was a strategic, defensive game and so forth. And listen, the best team wins. So let's move on to this and talk about dynasties, right? I mean, 6 Super Bowls. How do you not talk about it as a dynasty? For sure. But let's go into dynasties here,
Okay.
right? Bill Russell, what, 11 out of 12 or 10 out of 12? I mean, that's a dynasty,
Right?
right?
Yep.
The Yankees, of course. There's been 110 World Series and they've won 27.
But the 5 in the row in the 1950s under Casey is
Right, but
probably
let's touch base on that. They had Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Okay, that's great. They had Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle. Great.
Yep.
And they had Derek Jeter and so forth. Of course, that's a dynasty. But the Patriots had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and a whole other cast of characters. What do you think of that? I mean,
I do-
I mean,
they are a dynasty. I am not disputing that. Okay, but I want to throw this out there too. What about the path to their dynasty? Okay, I think it's fair to say, and I know a lot of New England fans are going to cringe when I say this, but I would love to have played in the AFC East for this run.
well, they get a free pass
They
into
get
the
a free
playoffs.
pass, but I am not diminishing New England. Don't get me wrong here. But when you're in a division with Buffalo and the Jets and Miami that stink, absolutely stink, it doesn't matter if you go 11-5 or 12-4 or 13-3. Why? Because you're going to get a bye, because you're a division champ. You're going to get that one home game. Typically, you're playing a wild card. And I don't want to diminish their accomplishments, okay? But I think it's a fair point to point out. And again, with the way that the NFL is compared to, let's say, San Francisco and Joe Cool and the Steelers and so on and so forth, when it was football. And the reason I bring that up is in the first quarter, and I want to say first couple series, you and I were sitting on the couch watching this. Little swing pass. And to the New England back, I think it was White maybe caught it. And the Ram guy behind the line of scrimmage, as soon as he caught the ball, crushed him. I mean crushed him.
Okay.
Okay? Flag. Flag for what? Hitting a defenseless player?
That's
When
like
you watch that play, though, my point is, it's a different NFL than what it was.
All right, but let's not get into the refereeing and so forth. I mean, I think this was a game with two. They were the two best teams in the league.
I am not going to criticize the officials in the Super Bowl because there were no really egregious calls.
And they let them play.
The only reason I bring that particular play up is the violence of what football is, okay? And for a flag to be thrown on that particular play, I think is symbiotic of
All right.
of the eras of what we're talking about dynasty-wise in football.
All right, but let's get back to the dynasty thing. Like I said,
Sure.
Don't dismiss Bill Russell. Don't dismiss the Canadians in hockey and the Yankees in baseball and so forth.
Absolutely.
But this guy Brady, 6 titles. Yeah, he's lost 3. But he's got there 9 times. that's big. That's big, right? And listen, the whole Julian Edelman. What we talked about him last week. What a stud. This kid comes to play. He's a stud. Everyone's raining on this parade, going, "Oh, well, he had a 4-game suspension for PEDs, and who doesn't?" He got caught. Okay, so he got caught. He sat out his 4 games.
Role model?
No.
Right? I mean, that has to be in discussion. You're talking about a guy who had a PED suspension to start the season, 4 games.
Yep.
And I am not diminishing. We talked about this. In fact, I think a couple shows ago after the Kansas City New England game, we said don't be surprised if Edelman is going to have a huge day in the Super Bowl.
And he did.
Did we predict MVP? No, but we predicted that he was going to be a force. So I think it's a fair argument to say, PED to Super Bowl MVP, role model or not, this, that, and the other thing. I think it's a fair thing to say. However, to your point, let's be real about the state of sports today. Right?
He just had a great game.
He had a great game.
He deserved it, and just kudos to Brady and Belichick, and this must be driving Bill Parcells crazy. That his protege, he's got 6 Super Bowls. Right? He was his mentor. There's no question about it.
So here's another discussion I'd like to have about that. So they are a dynasty, and who are the 2 main cogs? It's Belichick and Brady.
With a whole cast of characters over the past 15 years.
But of the 2, who would you credit more for the New England success? My belief is it's Bill Belichick.
I do too. I'm not going to dispute that. I don't know what this whole foray with Brady and Belichick don't get along. Of course they get along. This is a working combination. They get along.
But I think and again, it's back and forth, dynasty, and then half our audiences can say Deflategate, Spygate, all this other stuff, and diminish this, that, and the other thing. At the end of the day.
But we go back to the days where Belichick was special teams coach, defensive coordinator for the Giants. The guy's got a resume that's unparalleled.
He was Sean McVay, basically, when the Giants won that first Super Bowl.
Right, and that's what's going to happen.
I think he ironically, I think he was 32, 33, 34, something along those lines.
And it's just exactly what's going to happen with McVay. He's got that
aura to him.
He sure does. So I thought, like I said, congrats to the Pats and Tom Brady and so forth. It's great. And Belichick, 6, it's a dynasty. There was one thing I wanted to bring up. It was kind of funny, actually, because I saw this on the news the other day. This guy, Portnoy.
Okay.
He's the head of Barstool Sports.
Okay.
Which, we've been talking about, or at least I've been thinking about doing our show, but we're going to go it alone. He's had this thing against Roger Goodell in the NFL.
Right.
So he's at the game, gets thrown out at halftime, tossed out of his seats.
Why?
Because he was supposedly banned from the NFL because he's had this hard-on against Roger Goodell. Paid $5,000 for his seats, got thrown out, thrown in the Hoos Cow.
The Barney Miller cell within
right?
the bottom of the
right.
stadium.
Barney Miller cell, And then he was invited by Robert Kraft.
Up to his booth?
After the game to the Super Bowl party.
Okay.
But he got thrown out of the game. $5,000 he paid for the tickets. And I thought it was unbelievable that, this whole Roger Goodell thing and the NFL, if you step out against him, he comes after you. But it was unbelievable. There's actually a video of him getting physically thrown out of his seats
Right.
for doing absolutely nothing.
Okay. So he made the list, apparently, Rogers' enemy list.
Hey, listen, but that's a little out of control, right? I mean, you pay your money. He's sitting there. He's not causing any trouble, and gets thrown out because why? He's against Roger Goodell.
No.
Unbelievable.
So getting back to the Super Bowl, then on that point, so the NFL made this concerted effort about it's Black History Month and it's in Atlanta and Martin Luther King, and I thought it was a lot of overkill, to be honest, about portraying their image and the civil rights thing, et cetera, et cetera. And it gets, I'm just pointing about the NFL's PR machine, and it gets to Roger Goodell runs that. Obviously, the image and everything goes through him. I thought the Super Bowl halftime show for our other fans, from an entertainment perspective,
I'm not sure why it's such a big deal.
My
to be
goodness,
quite honest.
it was not.
And
good.
Gladys Knight did a
She
phenomenal
did.
job.
Gladys Knight did a great job.
Phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal job.
And the girls that did America the Beautiful, they did a nice rendition as well.
Of course.
But the Super Bowl halftime show, I think, has jumped the shark big time. And you and I, we're all about the game. We're old school, and but it's an event. And
I know, but I think they made a lot more of it. But the fact that Gladys Knight sang the national anthem and she did it beautifully, beautifully, is enough to say, okay, we're good here.
And the reason I bring these points up is if after you look at the Super Bowl and the ratings came in, 10-year low. What do you attribute to that, James?
I don't know. Maybe they started recording after the second half because everybody said it was a sleeper game. I don't know. You know what I think it is? Because the Patriots are in it. And everybody goes, "Oh, I'm so sick of the Patriots."
I think that's part of it.
Isn't that what we heard for 3 weeks? Oh, the Patriots are in it again. Well, okay. Well, they're the best team in the league. So,
and again, we're all about the game, but I think the social issues and the NFL stance on Kaepernick and all this stuff.
Maybe that contributed.
It's starting to contribute to the NFL, and I think maybe they need to take a hard look at things.
Well, look, let's just we'll knock this Super Bowl off and say I thought it was a good game. A lot of people didn't think it was a good game, but I thought it was a good game. And
defense wins championships.
That's right.
And there was a couple interesting stats about that. It was the lowest scoring Super Bowl in history.
Yep.
And the other stat I thought was kind of interesting was New England is the first team to lose the Super Bowl the previous year and then win it since, do you know the answer? It's been a while. Since the Miami Dolphins lost to the Dallas Cowboys and then beat the Washington Redskins.
Is that right?
So 71-72. So
Right.
I thought that to be an interesting stat.
You sure about that?
I am, I'm sure.
All right.
But I think the Rams will be back. Like
do
you said, Goff and McVay are babies.
And I wanted to bring this up too, because Rams got a lot of free agents, and I saw this thing on Sue, and you and I talked about him, and there's a lot of footage on him being a dirty player, but he's actually not a bad guy. So he's a free agent, and the Rams got a couple other free agents, Littleton and so forth.
Right.
I think they're all going to sign up and say, we're this close. I'm going to stay with these guys. So I'm predicting Sue's going to sign back with these guys.
I don't understand why anybody would want to leave if you're already on that roster. You're moving into this
And being that close.
this new stadium that is apparently going to be better than Jerry World and so on and so forth.
Yep.
I think the Rams have a great nucleus. We really haven't touched on Gurley. What are your thoughts? He better be hurt. He better be hurt.
Well, listen, like I said, we talked about it last week. I'm not sure he's a big fan of, he's
He got his money.
Well, he's got a lot of money, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure McVay is all signed up for him. So, he may walk, but I think Sue and like I said, Donald, he's a great player. He's staying. He's on the
going
hook
nowhere.
for years.
He's going nowhere.
But I'm not sure I'd sign up for Gurley. I don't think that's going to work out for the Rams. So I think he goes somewhere.
And again, what's good about the NFL. I think contractually, is they get their money up front.
Yeah.
You can sign them to as much money as you want to, but if it's not working for 2-3 years,
And the thing is, with like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, listen, there's a lot of talent out there. You guys want to sit out? Like I said, Bell left $14 million on the table. Go ahead.
Right.
You haven't heard his name mentioned once in the past 6 months. So
somebody's going to sign him to big money.
Okay, not that.
But we're talking running backs here, and what's the shelf life on a running back?
Look, you got James Conner. You got the kid in Philip. What's his name in Denver?
Philip Lindsay.
He's a good player.
Young kid, absolutely.
They're gonna. They don't have to pay him.
Saquon obviously is going to be the torchbearer going forward.
Yeah, kudos to him for winning. He
congratulations to him.
And like I said, we talked about it. He's a stud. He's going to the Hall of Fame if he stays healthy.
He's a good kid.
So let's move on to the NFL Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Right. And this is a passion of mine, certainly. Because, people who get in don't deserve it. People who don't get in got shafted. So let's talk about who got in. Gonzalez? Automatic. Ed Reed?
Automatic.
Champ Bailey?
I think's Hall of Famer.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
And I know you question that a little bit.
I've always have, because I watched him 1,000 times, and I said, is he an Ed Reed? Is he, that kind of corner? I don't know, but he's got the Pro Bowls and and the All Pros.
Let's get back to our criteria. So if you think of a player, do you consider him a Hall of Famer automatically? Me, on Champ Bailey, I say yes. You, obviously, you're
I'm
wavering
on the fence. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Kevin Mawae?
I think we both agree that is a little bit of a stretch. Great, listen, good, solid pro. Not diminishing Kevin Mawae in the slightest, and I hope if Kevin's listening, he doesn't take it that way.
Not one bit. But
however,
he
retired 5 years ago, so I'm assuming he's a quote-unquote first ballot or
no, it was his third year.
Okay. My point being is Kevin Mawae automatic within a 5-year period when we could probably reel off guys that waited 10 years, 15 years.
All right, but let me say one thing. We talk about centers.
Yeah.
Which is the least recognized player in the league. Mike Webster is the standard. He's the standard bearer of is Kevin Mawae.
Jim Otto.
Okay.
Webster.
Right, but when guys like DeMonte Dawson gets in and Dwight Stevenson gets in, yeah, okay, then Mawae gets in.
Right.
That's how it's gone.
Yeah.
But before we even move on, Howie Long does not belong in, and Joe Colecco does. So let's move on. But here's somebody that got in that deserves it and very close to our heart. You're a Cowboys fan.
Mm-hmm.
Gil Brandt.
Absolutely.
How about it?
Well deserved.
When you're talking about front office guys,
The standard bearer.
Right.
No question. I'm so happy that Gil is still alive.
85.
Right. So I'm really hoping Gil is still alive when he can go to Canton and don the yellow jacket and enjoy the experience. It is a universal belief, I think, of anybody that knows the NFL that Gil Brandt revolutionized scouting. He was so instrumental in building the Dallas Cowboys.
And let me talk about
picking out talent. And the evaluation process, really what the NFL draft has come to this day. He is such a pioneer in it that
I'm glad you brought that up as a pioneer.
I couldn't be happier. And again, for the audience, I'm a lifelong Cowboy fan.
Okay, but we're football fans and we're sports
Right,
fans.
I'm trying to
first.
be objective here too.
But let me just bring up a little note that Gil Brandt instrumental in drafting Roger Staubach,
Correct.
Bob Lilly,
Yes.
Bob Hayes,
Yes.
Mel Renfro,
Yes.
Randy White,
Yep. Probably Tony Dorsett.
Tony Dorsett, and Michael Irvin.
Right.
And guess what? They're all Hall of Famers.
Absolutely.
And I had an opportunity with my brother Thomas at a draft. It must have been, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, probably 20.
And we sat there and we snuck down and
And
Yeah.
but talk about that. What the NFL draft was like back in the day.
and
So that you had the opportunity to meet a Gil Brandt. Just touch on that. I think it's important.
we did. It was that important for me and my brother and I to just we were so focused on the draft and it was awesome. I think it was the Eddie George was draft.
But my point I wanted to bring up was for football fans back then that loved the NFL
Right.
and took the time out to go to an NFL draft. Which,
And it wasn't the paparazzi that
Right.
it is now.
right.
But we ended up going down, we snuck down, and we walked down, and we ended up standing right by where all the first round draft picks came off. And guess who we were standing with? Mr. Gil Brandt. And we sat there and talked to him about football for about 3 hours. And he looked at us like, you two really know what you're talking about. I said, no, we worship you, and
We are not worthy. We are not worthy.
It was really one of my finest experiences of the NFL ever, and I'm so happy he got into the Hall of Fame.
I am.
I don't know if it was the first time or he belonged in there,
Yeah.
kind of like Ruth Garrett kind of thing.
Right.
But it was awesome.
No, I'm extremely happy he got recognized for his contribution, and again, I hope he's eligible to be there in person.
No, I certainly hope so. And the only person that could, induct him, and he's not here, would be Tom Landry. So I don't know who he's going to have, induct him into the Hall of Fame,
Right. Roger's still kicking. That would be my choice.
but that would be great. It could be White, it could be Lilly, it could be Staubach, because they're all alive. It's great.
Unfortunately, I think we know who's going to induct him, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, and also a Hall of
Absolutely
Famer,
not.
Jerry Jones.
No.
I am predicting that right now.
No,
He will make it about himself.
it's going to be a.
Thank you, Gil, for your contribution.
He will not allow that. He will have Clint Murchison's granddaughter
No.
induct him in.
Really, I would like feedback on that one because let's talk about the ego of Jerry Jones. Of course, I think he's going to make it about himself.
He's going to have nothing to do with it. Gil Brandt's going to make sure of that. And
My
that's-
choice is Roger Staubach putting the
I hope so.
yellow jacket.
I
yellow
hope so.
jacket on.
So that's great.
But thank you for bringing that up about Gil Brandt.
Oh,
I think
my
that's.
God.
I think he is well deserving.
There's no question about it. From the front office, one of the top guys ever.
Who else we got? Ty Law also made the
I
Hall
don't,
of Fame.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think he's a Hall of Fame.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Shutdown corner. I think he had 3 with New England.
I think he's
Solid pro. I got no issues whatsoever with Ty Law making it.
I think he was, more deserving than Champ Bailey. I think Champ Bailey had some, a lot more press than, for some reason, than Ty Law. But how many Super Bowls does Champ Bailey have?
I would imagine. I would guess at least 1.
Maybe
with,
one
with
when
Denver. He may have been
maybe
on 2 Denver teams. It would be my guess.
Yeah, I don't think he's got that many.
I'm gonna say 2, but we can look that up.
All right.
I'll guarantee he's got 1.
So listen, this was our Super Bowl and football talk and Hall of Fame talk. And
But let's talk about who didn't get in. Couple, just one name.
go ahead.
John Lynch. Is he Hall of Fame worthy? And the reason I bring him up is it gets to our point of a Kevin Mawai makes it on his, say, third year of eligibility. So what, 8 years since he retired, thereabouts? You tell me John Lynch has got to be in the same, within 10 years he retired.
Absolutely.
Okay. And again, there's a lot of guys that get nominated, right? And there's a lot of guys, when you see these names, you laugh, you're like, oh, there's no way, this, that, and the other thing. I thought John Lynch, I was surprised that, now he's going to get in, don't get me wrong.
Of course he's going to get in.
But he's the type of guy where, when you think of John Lynch, I think Hall of Fame safety. I really do. I think this guy.
Well, you and I have always talked about this, Steve. You know, I mean, these guys in the press and these guys, they didn't see him play like we saw him play and so forth. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's a changing of the guard kind of thing.
Right.
Isaac Bruce. I mean,
That was the other one.
number 6 all-time receiving yards. And yes,
But-
you know.
And that's a good one because Isaac Bruce, when I think of Isaac Bruce, do I automatically think of Isaac Bruce as a Hall of Famer? No. I think he gets lost in that translation. But to your point, when you look at Isaac Bruce's stats, and he was a main cog on the greatest show on turf,
Yep.
with 6th all time on this, that, and the other thing, is he a Hall of Famer? He is. But there's certain players, and I think that's a great example you brought up on Isaac Bruce, where, you know what? He is a Hall of Famer, where you have to do a little due diligence, right? But he'll get in too. And I think Bruce and Lynch were the two that I wanted
Yeah,
to
well, John
just-
Lynch was a good, you know, he was a stud, no question about it. I mean, I don't have any problem with him getting in tomorrow, but it's crazy. The whole NFL voting thing, like I said, I'm going to reiterate, Howie Long doesn't belong,
Joe Klecko
does belong. And we're going to have Joe on our show, so
Joe, if you're listening, you're coming on,
I know you're listening, Joe.
right?
But it was great, you know. So listen, couple of quick things before we sign off. I saw this thing on Zach Taylor today. Love him. Said all the right things. You know, you and I go back to watching him at Nebraska and so forth.
Right.
But wow, polished. Said all the right things. And listen, it's the Bengals, and I'm not a big fan of the Bengals, but what a solid kid. I like him, and I think he's going to do all the right things for the Bengals.
Okay. Zach Taylor, listen, quarterback coach, Rams, Jared Goff, 3 years, you give him credit. He's now coming off an absolutely bad Super Bowl. It's the Cincinnati Bengals.
Agreed.
It's the Bengals. They're
But-
taking a flyer on this kid. Do I have enough confidence to say that Zach Taylor is going to be
But is he
a
not
great
you know,
NFL coach? I cannot make that statement right now.
But 16 years of, you know, Marvin
He's
Lewis.
35 years old.
16 years of Marvin Lewis? I mean,
My only point, it's the Cincinnati Bengals who do everything on the cheap, and
agreed.
I don't know if that translates to Zach Taylor being able to do what he wants to do because his resources are going to be limited. He's not with the LA Rams anymore,
I know.
where
I'm going to say this is
that's
a
the point I wanted to make, but I'm not diminishing that Zach Taylor is a worthy candidate to be a head coach.
He is, and I think so. And like I said, this is the Paul Brown legacy. Mike Brown, the old man now,
Sure.
the son, and so
Right.
forth. I think this may be a turning point for them. I think this kid is really, and that's the way the NFL's going. The young, dynamic guys,
That's-
like I said. So
I'm not diminishing Zach Taylor. Again, I just wanted to make that point. Let's not forget it's Cincinnati and the franchise that he goes to, where he's got limited resources to be successful.
and Brian Flores in Miami. Hey, look, Boston College kid, linebacker. You know, got injured. That's why he didn't make the pros. But
So did you hear?
I like that,
You
too.
know what I heard today with our St. Joe's connection? I understand that Mr. August Hoffman, the head coach of the St. Joseph Green Knights, roomed with Mr. Brian Flores at Boston College and was on the same Eagle squad. So
it sounds right. 1999 to
Right.
2002 or
Right.
something.
yeah, so
Great.
yeah. So I wanted to make that, and then real quick on the local scene for our local people. Don Bosco hired their coach.
I didn't even see that,
I am
actually.
here to breaking news. It's Dan Sabella,
Former Paramus guy?
former Paramus Catholic.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's shocking,
right.
actually.
I actually got word of that today from one of my sources that Sabella was the choice for the Ironman. I was
Wow.
a little taken aback. I thought they were going to go with a couple of alumni.
Me too.
The guy from Northern Highlands and Danny Morangi, who was instrumental in St. Joe's winning the state championship on defense.
I'm a little surprised by that, too. Good breaking news there.
Yeah. So just a little shout out to that. And
Great.
I just also wanted to make a point on that. You know, Jim and I love high school football. We love this North Jersey area. We're passionate. Obviously, we have our St. Joe's ties, but we want to cover this. We love high school football.
Wow.
We want our listeners to know that it's we're going to cover this, and we're very passionate about it. It's not just high school football, all high school sports, and we hope we can contribute.
We cover
the
the
local
gamut,
scene.
as they say.
The gamut.
The gamut.
So
And so, listen, just before we sign off, I talked to one of our former coach, Bert Ammerman, who he's going to be on our show in a couple of weeks. He's a great coach, got a great legacy and so forth, and looking forward to having Bert and the McCourtys and so forth on our show.
Right.
So I'm not going to go into any more, hockey. I got a lot of bullet points we want to talk about, but this was football. And Steve, thanks for joining us. And
thank you, Jim.
you're going to be on our show, and we're going to change our name at some point. We'll let our audience know, and
We're
our
open to fan
sponsors.
balloting too. Any suggestions? But we're in the midst of working on a name change, and I think we're almost there, and we'll announce that soon.
And yet our sponsors are going to be there with us the whole time. Lynch Toyota of Manchester and Harley Davidson of Utica and Di Filippi's Bakery of Monticello.
And one thing about Di Filippi's Bakery of Monticello, I'd like to also shout out to the owner there. Congratulations on the birth of the owner's grandson. He came in at 7.9 pounds yesterday. One
Wow.
Angelo.
Strapping young man.
That's it. Angelo Andreas.
So I guess
Foglia.
if you mention that, you get 15%.
Well, that'll be up to the owners, but again, we wanted to shout that out. Congratulations. That's a great, happy family moment for them.
Awesome.
And when you're in Monticello, really, the bakery and cafe, they provide great products for everybody.
So that's great. But listen, thanks for joining us. It was a great, NFL season's over and the Super Bowl, and looking forward to your feedback and looking forward to your continued support. And thanks for joining us. And Steve, couldn't be happier to have you on the show.
Thank you, my brother. See you, everybody. 43-17.